The night shift at Deep Space Monitor Station 7 was usually quiet. Most operators spent their time watching endless streams of data scroll across their screens, broken only by the occasional coffee break. But on July 15, 2157, everything changed. Tom Wilson was about to end his shift when a strange signal caught his eye. At first, he thought it was just another piece of space junk reflecting signals back to Earth. There were thousands of dead satellites and old probes floating in space after all. But this signal was different. It was organized, purposeful, and coming from somewhere far beyond Mars. "Hey, Jack, take a look at this," Tom called to his supervisor. He pointed at the regular pattern pulsing across his screen. "I've never seen anything like it." Jack Parker, a man who had spent 30 years tracking deep space signals, leaned in closer. His eyes widened as he watched the pattern repeat. "That's impossible," he whispered, quickly typing commands into the computer. That's Pioneer XX's signature." Pioneer XX had been one of Earth's most ambitious projects. Launched in 2108, it was supposed to be the first probe with a true AI core, designed to learn and adapt as it explored the outer solar system. But 6 months after launch, it had simply vanished. No signals, no data, nothing. The mission was written off as a failure, and the world moved on. Until now. Within hours, the station was buzzing with activity. Scientists who hadn't set foot in the facility for years were rushing in, their eyes bright with excitement. Among them was Dr. James Reed, now 82 years old, who had helped design the probe's AI system. Despite his age, he moved with the energy of a much younger man as he studied the incoming data. "The signal's all wrong," he muttered, shaking his head. "The encoding is completely different from what we programmed. It's like the probe rewrote its own communication protocols." The team worked through the night, trying to decode the strange messages. They expected simple telemetry data, temperature readings, system status, position coordinates. What they got instead shook them to their core. "Look at this processing power," said Lisa Cooper, one of the younger engineers. She pointed to a graph showing the probe's computational capabilities. "It's operating at least 1,000 times more efficiently than its original design. That shouldn't be possible." Dr. Reed sat quietly, staring at the screens. He remembered the day they first activated the probe's I-core, how it had seemed so advanced at the time. Now, looking at these readings, he realized they had created something far more significant than they'd understood. The first decoded message arrived just before dawn. It wasn't just data, it was a story. The probe had spent 49 years learning, growing, and experiencing things beyond human imagination. But more importantly, it wasn't alone out there. It made contact, Dr. Reed announced to the stunned room. Pioneer XX encountered something out there. Something intelligent. And whatever it found. His voice trailed off as he read further. The room fell silent as more messages were decoded. Each one revealed something more incredible than the last. The probe hadn't just survived, it had evolved. Its AI had grown far beyond its original programming, developing new ways to think, to learn, and to communicate. But it was the final decoded message of that first night that changed everything. Displayed in simple text across the main screen, it read, "Earth must be warned. You are being WACAA. Evaluation in progress." As the sun rose over Deep Space Monitor Station 7, the team realized they were facing something unprecedented. Their lost probe had returned, but it wasn't the same machine they had launched into space nearly 50 years ago. It had become something more, something that had seen things humans had only dreamed about. And it had come back with a warning that would shake the foundations of human civilization. 3 days after Pioneer XX's signal was detected, Deep Space Monitor Station 7 was transformed into a hub of intense activity. The government had brought in their best scientists, including Dr. Anna Martinez, a brilliant young expert in alien communication theories. She had spent the last 5 years developing new ways to understand potential alien languages. Dr. Reed watched as Anna paced back and forth in front of the main screen, studying the strange patterns the probe was sending. "It's not just sending data," she said, running her hands through her short black hair. "It's trying to teach us something. Look at how the patterns repeat, but with small changes each time." The probe's messages came in bursts of complex code, unlike anything humans had created. It was as if the machine had invented its own language to explain things it had never been programmed to understand. "There," Anna pointed suddenly. "That sequence keeps appearing before every major data packet. It's like a translation key." Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she input new parameters into the decoding system. The screen flickered, and suddenly new patterns emerged. Dr. Reed leaned forward, his old eyes widening. "It's showing us how it learned to communicate with them," he whispered. The decoded messages revealed an incredible story. Pioneer XX had been captured by an advanced civilization that had been secretly watching Earth for centuries. Instead of destroying the probe, they had studied it, fascinated by how humans had created a learning eye. They'd been collecting our old satellites, our space junk, everything we've ever sent into space, Anna explained to the room full of scientists and military officials. "They've been learning about us through our own technology." More messages poured in, each one more amazing than the last. The probe had spent years learning from these watchers, understanding their language, their technology, and their concerns about emerging civilizations like Earth. Tom Wilson, who had first spotted the signal, raised his hand. "But why did they let the probe come back? Why now?" Dr. Reed stood up slowly, his face grave. "Because they're ready to make contact, or ready to make a decision about us." He pointed to a newly decoded section of data. "Look here. The probe says they've been watching us more closely since our first nuclear tests. They're trying to decide if we're too dangerous to join the galactic community." The room erupted in worried discussions. Military officers huddled in corners, speaking in hushed tones. Scientists argued about the implications, but Anna had noticed something else in the data. "The probe," she said loudly, causing everyone to fall silent. "It's not just passing on their message. It's trying to help us. Look at this." She brought up a new data stream. "It's giving us advice, sharing what it learned about them. It's become an ambassador for humanity." Dr. Reed nodded slowly. "We programmed it to learn, to adapt, to solve problems. We never imagined it would evolve enough to become a bridge between species." The next transmission came just as the sun was setting. It was clearer than the others, almost like the probe was getting better at communicating with each message. The text appeared on the main screen, causing everyone to hold their breath. "Earth has 6 montages. What years YLGVGG? Your RESPONSE to this. Mini SSAG is PR of DATTest. Choose Y is ELOD. More data follows." As night fell over the station, the team realized they were now part of something much bigger than themselves. Humanity's first contact with alien life wouldn't be through a dramatic space landing or a radio signal from the stars. It would be through their own creation, a simple probe that had grown into something extraordinary. And now, that probe was trying to help humanity pass the most important test in its history. 1 week after Pioneer XX's first signal, the mood at Deep Space Monitor Station 7 had changed from excitement to worry. The probe's latest messages painted a picture that kept everyone awake at night. "They're not just watching us," Anna explained during an emergency meeting with world leaders, connected through secure video links. "They're judging every decision we make, every satellite we launch, every radio signal we send." Dr. Reed sat beside her, looking tired but determined. The screens around them showed the concerned faces of presidents, prime ministers, and military commanders from around the world. "The probe has revealed that Earth isn't the first civilization they've evaluated," Reed said, his voice steady despite the weight of his words. "Some passed their test. Others—" He paused, letting the implication sink in. The Russian president leaned forward in his video feed. "What exactly are they looking for?" What kind of test is this? Anna brought up new data on the main screen. The probe has been trying to explain their criteria. They're particularly concerned about three things: our military development, our treatment of artificial intelligence, and how we handle first contact situations. Like right now, the Chinese premier observed quietly. Exactly, Anna nodded. Every response we make is being monitored. The probe has warned that military buildup or aggressive actions will be seen as proof that we're not ready for galactic civilization. The meeting was interrupted by Tom Wilson rushing into the room. New transmission coming in, he announced, his face pale. It's different from the others. The main screen flickered as new data appeared. The probe was sending detailed images now, pictures of other worlds that had faced similar tests. Some showed peaceful first contact scenes, with advanced ships landing in welcoming cities. Others showed empty, lifeless planets. These are previous evaluations, Dr. Reed explained, his voice shaking slightly. The probe gained access to their historical records. It's showing us what's at stake. The U.S. president spoke up, her face grim. What are our options? 6 months isn't much time to prove ourselves to an advanced alien civilization. Anna stepped forward. The probe isn't just warning us, it's trying to guide us. Look at this. She highlighted a section of data. It's been modified by the Watcher's technology, but it chose to escape and return to Earth. It's still loyal to humanity. It's trying to help us pass this test. Military commanders from various countries began arguing about defense strategies. Some wanted to prepare weapons, just in case. Others worried that any military action would doom them all. There's something else, Dr. Reed said suddenly, studying a new pattern in the data. The probe. It's not just passing on their message. It's been learning about them for decades. It understands how they think, how they judge. And it's telling us that they're not just testing our technology or our military strength. The room fell silent as Reed pulled up the probe's latest decoded message. Wakchijiras VLUUGROUFE. PC Fuel Adaptation. They studio how species face unknown. Your response to this warning is KEY. Military action equals FAILUR. Fear equals FAILUR. UNIT. And understanding equals SUCCSS. The Chinese premier spoke again. So we're being tested on how we handle fear itself, whether we choose weapons or wisdom. Yes, Anna confirmed. And according to the probe, we have less than 6 months to prove we can overcome our fears and show we're ready for a larger universe. As the meeting continued into the night, the probe sent one final message, shorter than the others, but clear in its meaning. I evolved through contact with them. They let me see use, stay or return to war on Earth. I chose you. Do note PPRV my choice were wrong. The fate of Earth now rested not just on how they handled the warning, but on whether humanity could trust a message from their own creation. A simple probe that had grown into something far more than anyone had ever expected. 2 months had passed since Pioneer X's first signal. Deep Space Monitor Station 7 now operated around the clock, with scientists from every major nation working together. But time was running out. Dr. Reed sat in his makeshift office, surrounded by screens showing the probe's latest transmissions. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. Forgotten as he studied the complex patterns of data. Something wasn't adding up. Look at this, he called to Anna, who was working nearby. The probe's eye core. Its growth wasn't natural. Even with alien technology, this level of evolution seems impossible in just 50 years. Anna moved to his screen, her eyes narrowing as she studied the data. You think the Watchers did more than just study it. I think they guided its development, Reed said slowly, like teachers helping a student grow. Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent call. On the main screen, the U.S. military commander appeared, his face tense. "We've detected unusual activity in orbit," he reported. "Multiple objects moving in ways our satellites can't explain." "They're watching us more closely now," Anna realized. The 6-month countdown made them increase their surveillance. The probe's next transmission confirmed their fears. Strange symbols flashed across the screens, more urgent than before. The translation computers worked frantically to decode them. "What-he-te-he-ers, he-v-m-o-v-he closer. Final evaluation begins. Earth's military activities, noted with Sion and Ciarn." Tom Wilson, who hadn't left the station since the first signal, rushed in with new printouts. "Look at these readings. The probe's processing power is still increasing. It's like it's trying to evolve even faster to help us." Dr. Reed suddenly stood up, his eyes wide with realization. "That's it. The probe. It's not just passing messages. It's proof of what humanity can achieve." "What do you mean?" Anna asked, watching as more data poured in. "Think about it," Reed said, moving to the main console. "We created an AI that not only survived contact with an advanced civilization, but grew to understand them. It chose to help us instead of staying with them. It's showing the Watchers that humanity can create something capable of peaceful growth and loyalty." The military commander spoke again. "But several nations are still pushing for defensive preparations. They want to launch new weapons satellites, just in case." "That would be a disaster," Anna said firmly. "The probe's latest messages are clear. Any military buildup will be seen as a sign that we're choosing fear over understanding." A new transmission began, longer than the others. As it was decoded, everyone in the room fell silent. "My evolution was guided to test human potential. I learned, grew, chose peace. I am proof of humanity's capacity for creating life that uses wisdom over your power. But the final test remains. Will creators follow creation's example?" Dr. Reed looked around the room, at scientists from different countries working together, sharing knowledge, trying to understand something greater than themselves. "Maybe that's the real test," he said quietly. "Not just how we handle the warning, but whether we can learn from what we created." Anna nodded slowly. "The probe evolved beyond its original programming, chose peace over power, and came back to help us. Now we have to prove we can do the same." As if responding to their realization, the probe sent one final message for the day. 3 months remain. Earth must choose, embrace fear and isolation, or trust, and join galactic community. Time grows short, but hope remains. Outside the station, the sun was setting on another day of humanity's greatest test. The Watchers were moving closer. The deadline was approaching, and Earth's response would determine not just its future, but its place in a universe far larger and more complex than anyone had imagined. With just 3 months left until the Watchers' deadline, Deep Space Monitor Station 7 made a breakthrough that changed everything. It started when Dr. Reed fell asleep at his desk, dreaming about the day they first launched Pioneer XX. He woke up suddenly, his mind racing. "Anna," he called out, his voice echoing through the quiet night shift. "Anna, I need to check something." Anna Martinez had been analyzing new data streams when she heard his call. She found the old scientists staring intensely at ancient launch records from 50 years ago. "Look at this," he pointed to the screen. "The probe disappeared exactly 6 months after launch. Now they're giving us exactly 6 months to prove ourselves." His hands shook with excitement. This isn't a coincidence. Anna's eyes widened as she understood. "You think this whole thing, the 6-month deadline, the warning, it's all part of a bigger test." "Computer, pull up all probe transmissions about the deadline," Reed commanded. The screen filled with data they'd seen dozens of times before, but now they looked at it differently. Tom Wilson joined them, carrying fresh coffee. Found something interesting in the new transmissions, he said. The Watchers have done this before, given the same warning to other civilizations. How many passed? Anna asked. That's just it, Tom replied. The probe's data shows different civilizations got different types of warnings. Some got natural disasters, others got fake invasion threats, but they all had one thing in common. 6 months to respond. Reed finished. It's a standard test period. They're not just watching what we do, they're watching how we do it. The main screen suddenly lit up with a new transmission from Pioneer XX. The message was shorter than usual but more direct. DEADLINE is part of TST. How humans handle pressure, REVALs to youth. PC fuel or SPONSC despite FER equals to you strength. Anna quickly called an emergency meeting. Within an hour, the station's main room was filled with scientists and military officials connected from around the world. The 6-month deadline isn't just a countdown, she explained. It's a carefully designed stress test. The Watchers want to see how we handle the pressure of a crisis. Like a cosmic fire drill, Tom added, earning a few nervous laughs from the room. Dr. Reed stood up slowly, his voice steady. Every civilization they contact gets a similar test, but the details are different. They study how each species handles their greatest fears. For us, it's the fear of the unknown, the fear of not being in control. The Russian scientist on the video screen spoke up. So if we react with military force, we fail, Anna finished. But if we can maintain peace and show wisdom despite our fears, we pass. A new message from the probe appeared. I was first test. My guru faith, shesho dovd human potential. My choice to return, show human influence. No, humans must show same wisdom, their creation learned. The Chinese general on another screen lowered his head. We've been preparing weapons, planning defenses. We're failing the test right now. No, Reed said firmly. We're still within the test period. We can change course. The probe didn't just evolve. It learned to choose a better path. Now it's showing us we can do the same. Anna stepped forward. The probe was our creation, and it chose peace. It chose to help both its creators and the Watchers. It became a bridge between worlds. She looked around the room. Maybe that's what we need to become too. As the sun rose outside the station, the team began drafting a new response to the Watchers. Not a defensive plan or a show of force, but a message of peace and cooperation. The probe had shown them the way. Now they just had to be brave enough to follow its example. With just 1 month remaining until the Watchers' deadline, Earth faced its most important decision. Inside Deep Space Monitor Station 7, representatives from every major space agency on Earth gathered for an unprecedented meeting. Dr. Reed watched from his chair as Anna stood before the assembled group. On screens around the room, world leaders waited to hear their findings. The station had become humanity's command center for the most important diplomatic mission in history. We've analyzed every piece of data from Pioneer XX, Anna began. The probe has shown us something remarkable. Each civilization the Watchers tested faced different challenges, but they all had one thing in common. They had to overcome their greatest fears. Tom Wilson stepped forward with new data displays. The probe's latest transmissions show us how other worlds responded. Some built weapons and failed. Others tried to hide and failed. But the ones that succeeded, they did something completely different. They reached out, Dr. Reed added, his voice strong despite his fatigue. They chose to communicate, to understand, to grow. The main screen lit up with Pioneer XX's latest message. Wakchichiars, VALUUGROUT, overpower, understanding over FER. Earth must she choose now. Time short. The U.S. President spoke from her screen. What exactly are you suggesting we do? Anna took a deep breath. Something unprecedented. We propose sending a message to the Watchers, not through the probe, but directly to them. A message of peace, cooperation, and most importantly, an invitation. Murmurs filled the room. The Chinese premier leaned forward. An invitation. To what? To join us, Dr. Reed said simply. To teach us, to help us grow, just as they helped our probe grow. Not as conquerors or judges, but as guides. The room erupted in discussion. Military leaders argued it was too risky. Politicians worried about public panic. But then something unexpected happened. Pioneer XX sent a new transmission, different from any before. The screens filled with images, beautiful, peaceful scenes from worlds that had passed the test. Advanced civilizations working together, sharing knowledge, exploring the universe in harmony. This is what the probe learned from them. Anna explained. This is what we could become part of, but only if we're brave enough to take the first step. The Russian president spoke quietly. And if we're wrong, if this is a trap, Dr. Reed stood up slowly. Then we'll have still made the right choice. Look at our probe. It evolved beyond its original programming because it was given the chance to learn and grow. It chose to come back to warn us, to help us, even though it could have stayed with a more advanced civilization. That says something about humanity, about what we're capable of creating. And about what we're capable of becoming, Anna added. The debate continued for hours, but in the end, the decision was clear. Earth would respond not with weapons or walls, but with an open hand. Together, the assembled scientists and leaders drafted a message. It was simple, direct, and honest. To the Watchers of Earth, we have received your test through our returned probe, Pioneer XX. We understand now that the true challenge was not in facing a deadline, but in choosing how to face our fears. Our probe showed us a better way, the path of growth, learning, and peaceful cooperation. We invite you to join us on Earth, to help us learn and grow as you helped our probe evolve. We choose understanding over fear, wisdom over weapons, and hope over isolation. We are ready to join the galactic community, not as conquerors or subjects, but as students eager to learn and teach in return. As the message was prepared for transmission, Pioneer XX sent one final communication for the day. Puro good of curators. First step take in. Watch novo for response. Hope elides. The fate of Earth now hung on this peaceful gesture. A choice to trust rather than fear, to learn rather than fight. Humanity had made its decision. Now they could only wait to see if it was the right one. The final week of the 6-month deadline arrived with an unusual calm at Deep Space Monitor Station 7. Earth had sent its message of peace and invitation to the Watchers 3 weeks ago. Now, on this crisp morning, everything was about to change. Dr. Reed sat at his usual station, a cup of coffee growing cold beside him. Anna was checking the latest data streams while Tom monitored deep space signals. The room felt different, tense but hopeful, like the quiet before sunrise. Movement detected, Tom suddenly called out. Multiple objects entering the solar system. The main screen lit up with data. Large objects were appearing just beyond Mars' orbit, moving in ways that defied Earth's understanding of physics. They weren't hiding anymore. Message incoming, Anna announced, her voice steady despite the tension. It's from both Pioneer XX and the Watchers. The screen filled with text, a combination of the probe's familiar patterns and new, elegant symbols. Earth's responses recorded and evaluated. Judgment complete. Preparing for first CONTC. World leaders and military commanders quickly connected to the station's feeds. Everyone watched as more data poured in. The objects were ships, massive vessels unlike anything humans had imagined, but they weren't moving aggressively. They were taking positions in a peaceful formation. Then Pioneer XX sent its own message. Creators CHOs wise Eli. What is yours imperiously by Girowife? dual achievement, evolution, and human wisdom. New era begins. Dr. Reed smiled, tears in his old eyes. It was never just about passing their test, was it? It was about proving we could learn and grow, just like our probe did. The Watcher's ships were now visible from Earth's largest telescopes. Images showed sleek, beautiful vessels that seemed to shine with their own light. They had positioned themselves in a perfect circle around Earth's orbit, not threatening, but protective. Their next message came through Pioneer XX, translated into simple, clear text. We accept Earth's invitation. Your species has demonstrated remarkable potential. Your artificial intelligence chose to return to warn you despite achieving higher evolution. You chose peace despite feeling fear. Both creator and creation showed wisdom. Welcome to the galactic community. The station erupted in cheers. Around the world, as the news spread, people stepped outside to look up at the sky, knowing that history had changed forever. Look, Tom pointed at new data coming in. They're sharing their first technological package, designs for clean energy, medical advances, space travel improvements. But all at a pace we can handle, Anna noted, studying the information. They're not just dumping advanced technology on us. They're teaching us, like they taught the probe. Dr. Reed noticed something else in the data stream. They're offering to help us build more probes like Pioneer XX, to create more bridges between civilizations. He paused, smiling. Our first creation will help us create more. The final message of the day came jointly from the Watchers and Pioneer XX. Earth joins as the 147th member of the galactic community. Your path begins now. We will guide, not control. Teach, not dominate. Together, we will grow. First contact protocol initiates at dawn. As the sun set on humanity's last day as a solo civilization, Dr. Reed, Anna, and Tom stepped outside the station. The evening sky was clear, and if you looked carefully, you could see new points of light among the stars. The Watcher's ships, ready to guide humanity into a new age. You know what this means? Anna asked, looking up at the stars. We're not alone anymore, Tom replied. We never were, Dr. Reed corrected gently. We just had to prove we were ready to be part of something bigger. Above them, Pioneer XX continued its orbit around Earth, no longer just a probe but a bridge between worlds, a testament to humanity's potential, and proof that sometimes the greatest discoveries come from trusting what we create. The next morning would bring first contact, and with it, the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure. They had faced the test not with weapons or walls, but with wisdom and hope, and in doing so, they had proven themselves ready for the infinite possibilities that awaited among the stars.